Hello, how you doing?
Pretty good. How you doing?
Records in the back store.
We do.
Awesome. That's what I came
Lots.
for. Cool.
Enjoy.
Thanks.
Yes, back in the place. Another keep or sell episode. This is going to be the last keep or sell episode for now, at least. I'm going to start a new sort of series here on the Uncommon Records channel over the spring into the summer. More on that soon. We're going to have flashback sessions coming back soon as well with me and Shorefuse talking about the classic old sessions. We actually just recorded an episode on the recording of Linda Tripp. So that should be a lot of fun when we release that. But on to Keep or Sell. For the last episode of this series, what I really wanted to do and what I've always meant to do and intended to do is go back to the Everything Goes Cafe right here, right down the block, right outside there. That's where we're gonna go today. You might remember I did an Uncommon Rhythm Roulette from that location. Shout out to Duke and P, Last Sons, who helped me record that. You could see I'm by myself today recording, but I'm cool. I woke up this morning. I just wanted to go and do this today. So I'm gonna go out. I'm not gonna do a huge stand up in front of the place right in my neighborhood. I don't wanna really do that because I live here, but I'm gonna go into the spot. I'm gonna record a little bit. You know, if you remember what it was a couple years ago, we'll see how much has changed. I haven't been there in a while, but it is a really cool resource here in the neighborhood. I'm here in St. George / Tompkinsville area of Staten Island, New York, and that's how we're gonna close this out as a series. Yeah. All right, back in the place to be here, Only Child Audio. Look, Everything Goes Cafe is a really cool place, really great for the community here in St. George and Tompkinsville. They've been here for probably 40 years, if not longer. So they've been a part of the community for a while. So it's cool to have like a sort of a coffee shop / book cafe, little record store. There's all kinds of stuff going on in there. So very cool. That being said, for record digging, it's a thrift shop. So, you know, it's going to be slim pickings in terms of what you're plucking out of there. So that's why this pile's a little bit on the thin side, but we'll get into it. Some cool stuff was found in here. This has nothing to do with records or music, but it does kind of show what kind of stuff they got. They have a huge collection of art books. And I found this Paul Klee book that is really cool. It's got like these really full page pieces of his. They had a lot of other Paul Klee stuff there too, but I'm not like the biggest Paul Klee expert, although I do like what I see here in his abstract art. I looked him up quickly before this. He died a long time ago, actually. But his art is like extremely modern in terms of like the contemporary abstract expressionist stuff that came out of New York later after his death in the 50s and 60s and 70s. But that being said, now we've got the thrift store part out of the way. We can get into the vinyl. So only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 records here. Michael Frank's Tiger in the Rain. It has, I don't know how you'll be able to see that, but it has sort of a tiger in the woods there. Not in the rain, but in the woods. He is a guy who sits on chairs like that, which is cool. You don't see that anymore. That's an old school move. Okay.
And I used to chop the line.
Okay. That's not what I expected.
Just like a
Well, this is certainly not in my wheelhouse. This is the last record I picked up, so
motion.
I picked up one too many, maybe.
Sleeping. Thunder and lightning too often. I'm sailing toward the eye.
So yeah, this is gonna be a sell. You know, back in the day, when you would travel to another place, it'd be cool to buy records there because every city had its own regionality of what the record stores had. You know, like certain stores, or certain cities, I should say, would be heavy on jazz, or heavy on dance music, or heavy on reggae, or heavy on prog rock, or classic rock, or Endor classic rock. Some would be big punk rock cities. And the records that would flow around city to city it would make the city unique. But as the internet came, you know, so you would fly to a place on leisure or whatever and come back with records that just, it would be very hard to find in New York, even in a place like New York where you had dozens and dozens, if not hundreds, of record stores back in that time period. So it's been interesting over the years, like, especially doing this show too, like seeing some of the stickers that I left on some of these records. Some of them literally came from, like, across the street. You know, there were a couple of episodes where I found Everything Goes stickers and I pointed them out on the show. And then there are other stickers that came from stores in Florida and Baltimore and places like that. These days it's a little bit different because of Discogs. You know, you can kind of buy anything from any store. You start to see a pattern of what stores have what kind of music when you order often enough on Discogs. So it's still a little bit there, but it's not the same thing. So to some degree, records for a while were currency, and I guess they still are, even though it's happening over the internet. It's just easier to move that currency around. So I say all that to say, like, these records came from, like, right down the street from me, so they didn't travel very far to get here. So when I sell them, where do they go? You know, do they go overseas? Do they go across the country? We'll see, you know. But I just thought that was interesting. I was thinking about that as I walked back up with the records, like, you know, like buying records regionally back in the day, and not that I did that often, but it was a big deal. Like, if I wasn't in New York, even if I was in New Jersey, it was something different. You know, you go out to Vintage Vinyl out in, like I said, it's Menlo Park. That was like the big record spot in like I don't know, the sprawl of New Jersey at least. And you would get different things there than you could get in the city. And I mean, to some degree, it's still true, but not the way it used to be, because if you really need something, you can go to Discogs, and if you're willing to pay any price for it, you're willing to get anything. So, nice tangent right there on our last Keep or Sell. Don Sebesky, The Rape of El Moro. So, very dramatic cover, very dramatic title. I don't know what kind of music you get from this sort of thing. This was probably the most expensive record I bought there. I kind of kept my budget a little bit low for this one because it was sort of thrifting, but this is a $10 record. They had a Dr. John record in there that I would have really wanted, but it was $40. Vocal is Joan LaBarbera. I have not heard of her before. This is dope. This is more my speed of jazz. This is what the kids call spiritual jazz.
Ladies.
Oh shit, there we go.
One thing remains. Here it comes. It's coming on through.
Wow. Yeah, this is definite keep. We like this one. This is cool. This is a cool find. I know a decent amount about CTI in this era of jazz, and I've not heard of Don Sebesky or this album, so it's a cool find. I guess one other thing I'll point out is, like, this cover, you can see it's sort of intended that this is sort of like a statue or like an emblem or something. I'm pretty sure, and this might be obvious to some people watching, but I'm pretty sure those are real people in a photo shoot that were, you know, done up with makeup to look like sort of a carving. So it's crazy that you could take a picture like this, you know, your album cover prep is really in the photo session, you know, and that's a lot of covers from back then. The photo session was the album cover. That's what I come from. That's why, like, you see me on so many of my covers. Like, I'm fascinated by that concept that, like, there's a photo session for an album cover instead of just an artist doing their thing, which is fine too, but there's a good place for photography-based art in album cover art like this, and I think this is a good example of it. And this is obviously pre-computer, so I would imagine you're just basically taking the picture, adding the font, and whatever sort of printing way that they did back then. I'm not exactly young, but I'm not old enough to even remember how all that print press stuff worked beyond my, like, grade school printing classes. So I got this one for a particular reason. Okay, this is a record I pulled from the dollar section. It's by Janis Ian. So we're coming up on, or maybe have just passed, probably the 2nd anniversary of Gaja's passing. So rest in peace and rest in power to Gaja, and shout out to all the Acid Lab heads and crew and family. So I've never owned a Janis Ian record. It wasn't until I was touring with Gaja that, we were playing each other, like, different influences and stuff that we were a fan of. So I was playing some Gil Scott-Heron and I was playing like Moving Target, I remember, at one point, and that's not the most well-known Gil Scott record, but I really like it a lot. It's like a good morning record to wake up to, and he was playing me back, like Janis Ian and some other people. I think in fact, I know he did a song that was like dedicated to Janis Ian, so I had him on my mind. I mean, he's always somewhat on my mind, but like obviously during this time of year, I was like, damn, like, let me get this Janis Ian record. I got a cool inner sleeve here. For $1, to still have the inner sleeve with the lyrics in it, that's pretty cool. And I just wanted to check it out and pay tribute to the homie by doing so.
Sometimes it's all too much to say aloud. Ladies who drool as they advance will have a celebration.
So, cool music, obviously. Not exactly something that you would sample regardless of any connection to the record or not, but it's pretty ill, man. It's like, think about Gaja and how like energetic he was, particularly when he was performing. He was a pretty laid back guy, actually, like in regular life. Anybody that knows him would definitely, he's one of the more laid back people I've ever met, which is probably why we work so well on the road, because when the need for calm was there with a promoter, I would send Gaja, and when the need for like the hammer was there for the promoter, I would get out of the car and do. You didn't need the same thing for every promoter. I tell people that all the time, and that's why me and him work really well in terms of getting what we were supposed to get. But yeah, it was great times, and this certainly reminds me of him. And just thinking about him listening to music this chill is kind of amazing for me as a visual. I don't know which were his favorite albums. This album happens to be called Aftertones. I don't know if this is one of his favorite albums or not. I'm a huge fan of Tears for Fears, but I wouldn't want to be associated with Sowing the Seeds of Love, because I hate that record, especially for them. But I don't know. For all I know, he really fucked with this record a lot. If not, I know he was a huge Janis Ian fan either way. So cool to have this in the house to pull out and just listen to at times. Okay, another record that I kind of grasped that, in purpose of buying a record, right? The original movie soundtrack to Barabbas. Okay, so some of you may know exactly what Barabbas is or who Barabbas was, and some of you may not. So let's go into like a little bit of a Bible lesson here. I was I took my folks to Palm Sunday Church, old church in this area, St. Peter's. I had never been there before. It's the oldest church on Staten Island. It was built in like 1839 or something crazy like that. And long story short, Palm Sunday, if you're not Roman Catholic, you wouldn't know this, but on Palm Sunday they basically read out the entire crucifixion, like as a play. And the audience in the church actually reads the part of the mob that's trying to convince Pontius Pilate to kill Jesus or to crucify Jesus. And there's a part in the entire story where there's like a known criminal that would have to be released in order to accommodate making room to crucify Jesus. I guess it was like an annual release a prisoner event that went on back in those days. And so the prisoner that they wanted to release was Barabbas. And I remember sitting in church and I was thinking like, what? Like, I was thinking about going down a rabbit hole to find out who Barabbas actually was and what he did. Of course, I never did that because, I did not do that. But then I saw this record, I started on my mind. I was like, I gotta hear what this is about. Let's see what Barabbas has for us. painful. Wow, this song is called "The Whipping of Christ." That is horrifying. Wow, I didn't know this record went that deep like that. Jeez. Wow, this is a really trippy record. Actually, it says on the back the music for Barabbas is literally out of this world. I don't know if I'd go that far, but it's definitely weird. Just like isolated instruments or something.
The following music signifies the beginning of the eclipse. It is constructed by superimposing a variety of orchestral colors. For example, by voicing a soprano and contralto note.
That is cool. I enjoy this. Definitely need a lot of EQing to fuck with some of the stuff on here, because it's a poorly pressed record. But the stuff they were trying to do on here is really interesting and disturbing. So that's a keep. We like interesting and disturbing. So far we're doing all right. You know, 3 out of 4. We started off with a dud, and you know, keeping 3 random records. This is Ronnie Law's Pressure Sensitive. So this is one of the names I was the most familiar with, or actually the name of, well, outside Janis Ian, this is the most familiar that I'm with any other records. Not what I expected. Very cool. Wow. I feel like that was like so good that it's already been sampled by somebody, right? Yeah, it's a good record. I mean, you can just feel other producers' fingerprints all over this. I wish I had a spare sleeve. I need to help this record out. Alright, a little beat up, but it's better than no sleeve at all. So let's go back and recap. It's a pretty quick recap this time. We ran through 5 records, did a couple little tangents, so hopefully we're fun. So we'll go through the cells first. First record I put on, Michael Frank's. Last record I picked up. This is just not for me. It is jazz that is kind of from the 70s, but trying to do older jazz, and that's not really my thing. Go back through the keeps. Let's see, I usually do them in sort of order of preference here, but this record was pretty legit. The Rape of El Moro. Sounds horrible. We bought a lot of horrifying records today. But Don Sebesky, an old CTI release. This one's a real keeper. That's a really good record, and I can listen to front to back. Ronnie Law's Pressure Sensitive, also a very cool fusion jazz record. A lot more on the funk side, whereas that is a little bit more on the jazz side. But pretty cool to see how fusion jazz can do funk. Jazz has electronic elements, and then also jazz rock, which isn't really represented as much on those records, but that's why I like fusion jazz. Janis Ian, of course, classic record. There will be a day where I sit and listen to this front to back because I need to relax, which are most days. But again, rest in peace to Gaja. Shout out to one of his favorites, Janis Ian. And then Barabbas, a truly disturbing soundtrack. Does your soundtrack include whipping? Maybe it shouldn't. But yes, Barabbas, cool record. Yeah, so that's another episode of Keeper Cell. I'd say this is the last of the Keeper Cell series, but that's a lie 2 times over. It is for now, but that doesn't mean that I won't pop this back up in a year or 2 after I've done some other different series that I'm going to dedicate myself to for this channel. Demand will dictate. Leave comments below if you've enjoyed these episodes, and if you haven't, Stay to the end and check out the link to the playlist with all of these Keeper Cell episodes that I went in different directions on all of them. So if you're just seeing this for the first time, it might be fun to check that out. Give a like and subscribe, of course. You know, I've got a whole new series that's going to be New York centric coming up during the spring and summer. Give me some time to get it together. I'm not an expert, but I will be doing something like that. And also flashback sessions will be coming back. I can't say regularly because the subject matter can be really hard to organize and put together. Those take a lot more work than it looks like. Yeah, we'll be back with flashback sessions soon. We have recorded an episode on the trip. We're probably going to do Final and Fossils next. And then we'll start to really get into some of the albums that Jokes put out. So that's coming up. And also, the other reason that I'm a twice liar for Keeper Cell is I am going to do one more episode in this series that's going to be like an epilogue where, for those that are interested, I'm going to look up live, edited live, on Discogs what all of these records down here that you really can't see, but they're all down here. When I put them down here, they've stayed here. So everything on all 9 episodes of Keeper Cell, plus the Philly Record Hall that kind of started this idea going, that was like the pre-Keeper Cell, that stuff is all down here. I'm going to go through all of it and see what all of it's worth. And the more interesting reactions and records that are either worth a lot or worth a little, I'll post up in like a little epilogue 10-minute episode just so you can kind of check it out. Because I say sell all the time, but what does that really mean? So we'll find out soon. But yeah, stay tuned for all that stuff. I appreciate all the support on all the Keeper Cells that I've done. Again, this is probably not the end of Keeper Cell, but it's the end of it for now. So go and check out the other episodes if you've missed any. I basically go through and do the same thing I did here this whole time. But again, shout out to all the positive comments that I've gotten on this series. It's really cool to kind of just talk as yourself and like be on camera talking about vinyl and have that interaction with people in the comment section. So big up for all that support, and please keep giving it. Leave some comments here, down there, about any of the records that you saw me work on today, or the series in general, or you know, if I was to do another Keeper Cell episode, what kind of stuff you'd want me to go through, things like that. Have fun with it. All right, peace, y'all. We'll see you back soon.